Action, we've got this really bright, highly committed group who have been working on sustainability over the past. I'm trying to figure out how long our group's been together. I think this is our end of our third or beginning of our fourth year. And the original goal is for states to write a state sustainability plan, an actual written plan, go through the process and write a plan. That's been a challenging goal, and I'm going to revisit that in a few minutes. But the way we, what we do during these meetings, because people are so actively engaged in sustainability activities at many different phases, beginning to well advanced, we do something like we do at the grantee meetings, kind of the beg, borrow, or bring, brag, and borrow. And so we get up-to-date reports, and people can interact and ask questions and celebrate each other and talk about anything that's challenging us and support each other in our work. And what that does is allows us to learn from one another, but it really deepens the conversation too, because people are really gaining a nuanced understanding of sustainability, which is a kind of a slippery subject. So that's kind of an overview of the group. I wanted to welcome everybody back who's here. I have a couple announcements and like just a short poll that anonymous poll that Arch would like to do to get a sense of how the network members are using information. And then I've got I need your brains. I need to think aloud with you for about 5 minutes, and then we'll do the regular report that we always do. So a couple announcements. One, Doris Green made a YouTube video, and she is magic in front of the camera and such an effective communicator about respite. So we're going to send you a link for that. I hope I didn't embarrass you
A little.
Susan, like, look at this. It's really powerful. And because that messaging is so important for sustainability, I hope it's okay that.
Sure. I just hate watching it, that's all.
Well, of course, everybody hates looking at themselves, but we like looking at you. And yeah, you're really an effective communicator about respite. So it's
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And then next month's meeting, we fielded questions over time about the difference between strategic planning, business planning, and sustainability planning. And Idaho has done strategic planning, and they have posted their strategic plan in their newsletters and on their website. So Marilyn Sword's going to come next month to talk about that, and we can kind of unpack what the differences are between strategic and business and sustainability planning, and find out how they went about and what they did to make themselves successful. Okay, and then before I jump into my requests from you, Jill, could you put that poll up? And this is, again, an anonymous poll. One of the things ACL wants to know from Arch is how people are learning inside and outside the learning collaboratives. So if you'll take a minute to answer these questions, again, they're anonymous. Okay, wow, that's great.
We have 3 questions, so Susan, I'll just put them up separately, and I don't know if you want to talk about each one.
Sure. Okay, so since the last sustainability planning learning collaborative, did you connect with anyone in the collaborative? So we've been thinking that you did, and sometimes you'll say it during the call, and then other times we'll learn afterwards. And so we just wanted to start documenting this.
Can I just say something about that?
Yes,
you could only choose one of those, but I think we've done both.
Oh, can you not choose all? Both of them? Okay.
Oh, sorry, I set it up to only choose one because I guess it does make sense that you could have done both.
Yeah.
We'll have to fix that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dar.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, this makes us happy. And let's go to the second question. if you did get or give information, please indicate the general topic or purpose. Check all that apply. That's what we needed on the previous one.
I don't know how it's sharing on your screen, but you may have to scroll down if you want to do other. Can you see can you see them all, including other?
I
Yes.
can.
Okay,
Mhm.
great.
Okay, this is really helpful.
Everybody done voting?
Okay, measurement or evaluation, good. Cassandra and I have talked about doing something jointly on measurement and evaluation and sustainability. So this is really good guidance for us. Sounds like it would be useful.
And Dina added in the chat T-care as another.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks, Dina. Emergency respite. Okay.
Ready for the next one yet, or do you want to talk about this a little more?
No, it's pretty clear, isn't it? Evaluation and coalitions.
You all need to join the performance measurement learning collaborative if you're not.
Yeah, yeah, we'll put something together jointly too, and perhaps call on some of you to contribute to that so we can make it very real life and maybe make it less scary, sustainability planning less scary for everyone in the network. This is what everybody wants most and they're most frightened of, sustainability planning.
And the last question.
Please indicate the topics you would like to explore more deeply during sustainability planning learning collaborative meetings. Again, check all that apply. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, coalitions, that jives with what we saw on the last question. Leadership succession planning. Workforce, surprised that one's not higher, just because of the way the world is right now, but that may be just because we're drowning in everything else. We haven't gotten to think about that. Planning and decision-making, and the big one is data for education and advocacy, diversifying funding. Okay, so we've got a lot of big topics here. This is really helpful to me.
I wonder if the 3 people who want more on actually writing a sustainability plan might want to have a separate little group.
Yes. So I'm not sure my screen's showing everything. How many?
Oh, can you scroll down?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is anybody else having that problem? Or is it me and my old computer? The last thing I can see is diversifying funding.
Oh, try clicking the little square box in the right-hand corner. It might expand your view.
Oh, okay.
Right on the poll box, not on your big box, not on your big screen.
Oh, okay.
Does that help?
I just have a stop sharing on mine. I don't have a little box.
Oh, yeah. Because I made you a co-host, but you should have a scrolling bar on the right for the.
Yeah.
I know I should, but you know what? I think it's my computer and the search engine. It's just getting old. That's okay. You've got a record of all this,
Yeah, we
right?
have a record of this, so
Yeah.
we'll look it over and
Yeah, we'll look it over. But thank you, everyone. This is really helpful. And we'll be doing this periodically.
does anybody have any questions about those polling questions or raise any issues for you?
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, thanks again. So Jill, I can share my screen, is that right?
You should be able to, Susan. Are you?
Okay. Okay, here we go. This is great. Now, sorry, just talking about technologically challenged people. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this thing that I'm working on. I recently, well, two things happened to me recently. One, I was re-listening to Mary Jo Alameno Caruso's presentation on person-centered planning and matching. And it's just one of the best things we have on the Arch website. It's just like, it's a master class. She's a master teacher. And I didn't notice this before, but when I got toward the end of the webinar presentation, she had this framework that she presented that includes standards and measures. And it really triggered something in me in terms of sustainability planning, that we have the framework and the toolkit for how to do sustainability planning, but even in the special project that was funded by ACL, people had difficulty getting to the point where they wrote the plan. And it's been a nagging question for me, like, why is that? Why is it so difficult to get to the point where you actually have a written plan? And I think it's because it's really an opaque process. It's really time consuming and it's really daunting. And so I like to cook. So one of the things I thought, it's like, okay, you're learning to cook. Do you go to Joy of Cooking or Julia Child's French Cooking? I mean, I think you need to start with a really simple framework and make it visible. So we've got all of you who are now really have a lot of knowledge about how to do this, but there's great stuff on the Arch website. I went again to the financing matrix, which Monica Yule pulled together. It is so good. It has such excellent information, but I'm guessing that as in the whole network, and again, sustainability is like the top, it's really important. It's a top priority for them. I don't think that you would necessarily go to that framework, jump to that point of diversity, unless you had already a pretty strong infrastructure or knowledge or had a framework, a working framework in your mind. So I was trying to think about how to pull this stuff together. Also, I'm old and I just thought, you know, we've seen, one of the things we saw in sustainability planning when we did the evaluation is that when one person left that held a lot of knowledge and didn't put it in writing and didn't let people know, that information was gone. So I felt kind of obligated to pull together all the knowledge and expertise from this group, the things that we've generated and the things that exist in a way that people could see, okay, here are 5 things I need to do, and let me dig deeper on this one. So the last thing that kind of spurred me to this was this, Arch has this committee to advance respite research, and I took notes on the Common Data Elements Committee. So you all identified as measurement as one of your big issues, and that's something they're grappling with, and who the audience is, with whether it's a program, whether it's a researcher. And as they were speaking, I was thinking, well, there's the whole system that supports all those things. This is what you all are grappling with. It's big. And so again, I just wanted to kind of paint a picture of that. So here's what I've got in this document. We're not going to go through it today. I just want to tell you about it. So I'm working on a matrix that has what I think are the 5 elements essential to building and sustaining strong respite programs. At some point, I'm going to ask you to whether or not you think they're the 5 essential things. And then the guidelines and standards, I'm just pulling this from all the data that we have, the original evaluation of the model demonstration programs. We've done formal needs assessment. I have all those data on my computer. During the annual grantee meetings, we've done that kind of nominative group process where you write things down and prioritize them. I've got all those data verbatim. And then importantly, I've got all the conversations and notes and recordings from this group and the documents we've generated. And then Arch has done some other documents, some checklists, the financing matrix that I mentioned before. So I want to put these in a matrix to organize them, to make them accessible. And the reason I want to do that is so people can just go and see where they are, see how the different essential elements support one another. Like during the grants, we saw people went to writing the plan before they had a strong coalition or planning infrastructure or the relationships necessary to complete that task. So, okay, so that's what I'm up to. And I'm just going to tell you what the elements are, and then we'll come back to this at later times in little bits. Leadership.
Can you make this document a little bigger?
Sure, I can.
Because I'm old too, Susan.
I know. Not as old as me, but already old enough to wear glasses. Does that help? Or do you, is that better? Or you would like
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, hold on. I'll make it a little bit bigger. So I just want to go
Is
over.
is your full screen? Is it in your full screen?
No, it's not, but okay, how do I do
That
it?
might help.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, maybe if I stretch mine. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so is that better?
Yep.
Okay. So the first one is leadership, and you see we have guidelines and standards. And sometimes I didn't use just the word standards because there's not a research base for this, for most of it. So I just want to put helpful things that are helpful to you. And then processes, products. This is for the evaluation, for the measurement. So the process is like, you can't necessarily give a survey or do outcome research on everything, especially these dynamic things like leadership and coalitions, the products that you've produced, and then just resources that we have found helpful in this group. Second is collaborative partnerships, and then collaborative planning. And I thought it was important to separate those. The fourth thing is diversification of resources. And that's a long list. And then the fifth thing is advocacy. And that's it, essentially. That's what I'm working on. And I'm just laying it out for you now because I want you to help me with it over time, and I'll try and find ways to make it easy on you. But again, to capture this knowledge, to pass it along, to capitalize on your wisdom so that the network as a whole can profit from what you're doing. Okay, that's it. Jill, let's go back to your screen. Let's see, there we go. And before we just go around, how's this sound to you, any of you? Is like useful, not useful? I'm off on a odyssey with from which I can't return. Just thinking about, again, sharing your expertise with others. Is this a good way to go about it?
I think it looks good, and I think it makes sense to just kind of have broken it down like that and to say, here's where the resources are, because it can be daunting sometimes to try and find a resource. And then you go down a rabbit hole of a million resources and your head spins and you give up.
You should also know that finally, we have pulled together the resources to do a major overhaul of our website.
Wow.
So hopefully things will be much, much easier to find. And thanks to those of you who have already helped us. I asked some of you to provide input as with our web designer as we move forward. But even that document that Susan just shared, I think we'll be able to actually put on the website so that you'll more easily find everything.
Right. And just see the connections between things. One of the things I think I'm observing is that people will take one piece and the coalition and not think about how it's used. I mean, how to best use it, or won't have the right people, or won't know if it's working. If you think about Massachusetts, Leanne Winchester shared with us a year or so ago how they evaluated their collaboration among agencies and how they reconciled why they did it is they wanted to reconcile the definition of respite across agencies and find all the existing funding streams and make sure there were no gaps and reconcile the overlaps in order to increase accessibility, which is like one of the main points of the law. So it's like, you don't just build a coalition or a collaboration, you do it for this reason that allows you to check off all the boxes later on in the sustainability recipe. Okay, enough of me. Let's go around and have an update of what you've been doing. I already know some of the good things that I've been doing, but I want to hear you all talk about them. Who wants to start us off?
Well, I'm really excited because just before this meeting, my final sustainability written plan came into my mailbox. And that, that is something that we have been struggling with our sustainability facilitator. I think we had different final products in mind. So I look forward to sharing that with you once. I haven't even given Dina time to read it. So
Doris, say a little bit more about that, like what it looks like is different than what you thought, in what ways, and is it important that is it significant in some way?
Well, yeah, because I can check it off my list. That's significant.
No, I mean the differences in like what you envisioned, and
Well,
is it
what he envisioned more was the pieces of all the tool. We did the sustainability toolkit and all the pieces. And I was really looking for a written document that summarized it, gave us a clear narrative of a plan forward. And so that's what I got once I said that to him in record time. So, and then we've decided that it's really important to revisit this a year after year. So I'm in the process of trying to schedule our next retreat to do that.
That's
So
fabulous.
that's exciting to me. I'm just like beyond thrilled. I could be up dancing right now.
Yeah, Jill and I are too.
And at a quick glance, it's very comprehensive. Doris is right. I haven't had a chance to read completely through it, but it looks incredible.
That's
So,
fantastic.
kudos.
And so maybe we've got Marilyn on next month in March. Maybe you could walk us through it and talk about the plan.
We can do that, but I'm really looking forward to this discussion about the difference between strategic planning, sustainability planning, and a business plan, because we've been going, right, Dina, back and forth for a year or so, maybe more, about isn't the sustainability plan really a business plan and what's the difference? And that's huge to us because I think it's like, just like this final document that I've been pushing for, it's a vision thing, right? So we have to all have the same vision, and I don't think we're there, but I would like to get there.
Okay, that's great. So Marilyn will do that in February. She'll do the strategic plan from Idaho, and then in March we can walk through your plan. And that will give us more, more to discuss. What
do you guys think of like putting it all in a paper binder? I know it's like old school, but it seems to me that if I'm just sitting here thinking, if I had it all and I look at all the supporting documents that you should have over the years, not just like from working on the toolkit. I don't know. What do you think of that? Or just have a folder online?
I haven't.
Has
implemented
anybody
it.
else done that? I mean, like had their sustainability plan hard copy kind of in a place where anybody could get to it? Like if I drop off the face of the earth tomorrow.
Succession planning here. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Doris, this is Marilyn, and I think I'm old school too. I have way too much paper in my life. But because we're still doing so much remotely, nobody's going to the place where the paper things are.
Right, right.
We're all just doing things on a shared drive.
Yeah,
And as long as everybody has access to it and
yeah.
know how it's organized,
Well, that's the key right there, the organization.
exactly. So we're really relying on that because we're not even seeing each other very often.
Yeah,
So, but I'm really excited to see your plan, Doris. Can I go in next, Susan?
Yeah, yeah.
We have you've seen our logic model, but we have a work plan it's our second iteration of we call our strategic plan. And then we have a work plan that we break some things down into tactics and strategies. But we've had an interesting thing develop here. And that is we brought on a consultant to help us develop a business plan for a demonstration project that we've been operating for about 2.5 years. Dina knows about this because it's our family caregiver navigator that uses the TCare platform. But as we walked through it, and the person who came in interviewed a bunch of our core stakeholders to kind of get an idea about their ideas about the value of the service, the future of the service, those kinds of things, talking about sustainability. And then we got kind of to the point we're almost at where we had not shared with her our strategic plan for the ICA, the Caregiver Alliance. She was focusing on this Navigator project. And when she went through our plan, she saw how much more there was than the Navigator project. And so we're kind of, and our Sarah Taves and I are going to be meeting this weekend to talk about this a little bit. But all of a sudden it became what can we build that's a plan for the ICA that uses the Navigator project as an example of what we can do to make a difference in terms of outcomes, caregivers impacted, respite accessed, those kinds of things. But what it's also demonstrating to us is, wow, what can the ICA do with a little bit of money and a little bit of time to make a big difference? And so we're demonstrating things like agility, forward thinking, flexibility, energy, things that really aren't products of our project, but they are, that project is a demonstration of the importance of our alliance in our state in making a difference for people that have, for a constituency that's previously been pretty invisible. So it's, we're in a real transitional time right now. It feels like we need to probably sometime this spring bring together, it's time to kind of revisit all of this, bring our plan in and talk about kind of the next level. We're talking about kind of being an innovation network, an incubator, those kinds of things that we've been so focused on kind of fulfilling our ACL responsibilities and our responsibilities to our funder. But we want to jump way forward and think in terms of exploring some new partnerships, developing new projects that we could demonstrate that would demonstrate the same kind of flexibility and energy that the Navigator project. And I say all this because we've had so many of our partners say, I can't believe what you guys have done in this amount of time with this little bit of money. And we've had people leave the project for other jobs, and they feel kind of stifled and pigeonholed because they don't have that kind of flexibility that we do. And so there's a whole other piece of us that kind of is now becoming very energized and obvious. And so that's kind of where we are. And I don't know. I think what I would like to do in February is just get information from everybody about where they are in terms of, looking at strategy and sustainability and business plan. I'm with you, Doris. I think a business plan and sustainability kind of are the same thing. How do you keep going? But the real outcome, I think, is a macro level of where we can go as organizations in our state to take advantage of what's happening at the federal level, what's happened as a result of the pandemic, and how we can just kind of explode in terms of our impact. So now you've heard me go on and on. So.
Can I say something just in response to the business plan, sustainability plan, and kind of what we've been debating, I guess you could say, or talking through? Where I saw there being like differences is the sustainability plan really should encompass all aspects of your state building a lifespan respite care system, right? So like all the work that's being done across all the partners that are involved with the project, like you were just pointing out with your alliance, and then you have like this other pilot project that's happening, where I think that what we were envisioning with having a separate business plan, and not that it wouldn't feed into the overall sustainability plan, but I feel like the coalition, right, in thinking about potential revenue streams and like how they're going to sustain work within the coalition, to be part of that overall sustainability. So I think that that's where we were kind of seeing the differences, being like that business plan was really focused primarily on the coalition and the work coming out of the coalition, but there's other work happening from the other partners at the state level, and the members of the advocacy, so I guess I that's where I was kind of seeing it being like, yes, it does feed into the sustainability plan and is part of it, but it is a more focused effort on thinking about the coalition specifically and like their business. I don't know if that makes sense, or And Susan, we tried to reach out to Sharon that you provided us, and we went back and forth, and we were supposed to meet with her, and it got rescheduled twice. And now I'm getting a bounce back. So I'm not sure if she left, if you have any update on that, but I can't wait to hear, Marilyn, your presentation next time.
I've been trying to find Sharon too. I'm in touch with the Illinois Respite Coalition because they have some work planned with her, but all of a sudden her email has started bouncing, and which is really surprising because she would have normally kept, made sure that we had her email address. So I'm not sure what's happening there.
Yeah, I was thinking, I hope everything's okay, because the last time that she had said she had a family emergency, is why we canceled our last meeting. So
yeah.
Oh dear. Okay.
Can I just jump in really fast too?
Please. Yeah.
Marilyn, I was so impressed with where you're going with the Alliance, and to be able to step back and take that broad overview of where you can go from here based on all the changes around us, the federal influx of COVID dollars and American Rescue Plan dollars, and hopefully Build Back Better dollars at some point. the COVID changes. There's just so much going on in the arena, and to be able to step outside the limitations of the tiny little lifespan respite program, I think it's really forward thinking, and I think that's really exciting. Dina, when you talk also about the difference between the business and the sustainability plan, I'm not quite sure what all the differences are myself, but I think we have to keep in mind that a sustainability plan is not just about the fiscal sustainability. And, that's all we've talked about in this group. What are all the other components of what you need to be doing to sustain your program? And maybe that's where it differs from a business plan that might be more financially focused.
Right.
And I'm really curious, for those of you who participated in the Center for Healthcare Strategies technical assistance on building comprehensive family caregiver strategies, has that work really helped shape your planning processes? And if so, it'd be interesting at some point. I know Idaho participated, New York has participated, Alabama participated. I'm not sure if Alabama Lifespan Respite was involved, but I know the state agency was very involved.
Yes, we were involved we worked alongside Tracy Dunklin at ADSS to help her, do some research and gather some resources for her participation in that grade. So yeah, we were involved at a level. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's anything that you all gleaned from that participation in Tech TA from them that might inform the work we're doing here too.
Really have to defer to Tracy, when it was her and our Speaker of the House Representatives, Matt McCutcheon, who were on that, and I think a Medicaid representative who were on that. Like I said, we just kind of assisted Tracy Dunklin when she would call on us to help with some research and things. But as far as at the state level, how it helped, I'm not sure. But with our respite program here, we didn't directly receive any, information or benefit from it that I can think of.
I remember Tracy was very, very interested in the training, direct care workforce piece related to that particular project.
She was. We don't have any minimum standards in our state for workforce other than Medicaid. Medicaid, of course, does have those minimum standards. And so, yeah, Tracy was really focused on that. And so we were kind of going over, what Medicaid does, what can we pull from that, what, if Alabama were to have minimum standards for other care providers, what would they look like? Would you use Medicaid as a model? Or, so we looked at some other sources too, some other states, and kind of pulled all that information together for her. Just like every state, like, Susan said earlier, that workforce shortage is a big issue. And I guess in looking back, what we did pull from that, we were able to, in this enhancement grant that we were awarded last year, to be able to provide some training for, care providers. And we're about 3 months into that, and it's going really well so far. We're able to offer 25 individuals 8 hours of free training, and it's nationally recognized training with certification. So we're able to offer that to them for free through that grant. And yeah, I guess looking back, that is related to that work we did with Tracy.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the impact in Idaho, we focused on our Navigator project with our engagement with the CHCS. And what it did is open some doors for conversations with Medicaid and some major insurers in our state about how they could better serve caregivers. But while we had those conversations, it really didn't go very far. I mean, it came at a time that Medicaid had a whole bunch of other things on their plate, and they were just not able to we wanted to move things upstream and have caregivers be, like with insurers, be covered as part of their plans for people who were dual eligible, for instance. But we continue to have those conversations, but that's a big ask. And I think people just weren't ready. But I think we continue to have those conversations. And I have to say, CHCS provided us lots of kind of, when we were trying to have these conversations, they gave us a lot of guiding documents, put us in touch with other resources. And it was really nice to have Courtney to bounce things off of. And they were familiar, they'd worked with Medicaid in our state, so that helped. And I think that helped kind of give us a little more gravitas than we might otherwise have had. But I don't know that it really had any lasting impact. And we were not able to engage the legislators with that we had hoped to.
Okay. So Marilyn, just a quick question about that. Do you think it could have, I mean, I think about sustainability planning isn't like a one-time thing. And one of the things you've demonstrated when you're talking, and others on this call have, is that kind of broad view and the ability to hold one idea here while you go forward, leave a marker and let's go back to that. So is this something that could come to fruition, or something could come out of this?
It's hard to say. I think it's helped us with that project, but it depends on what other doors open, Susan, in terms of those conversations with Medicaid and with the major insurance companies.
Right. Okay. But you have to have your ducks in a row in case they do open. If you
Exactly.
haven't thought about it
You have
at
to
all.
be ready. Yeah, you have to be ready to jump. And I think that's what we're working on, is kind of maintaining that agility so that when we do get some money for this, that it fits in our plan and we're able to move quickly.
Okay.
It's very forward thinking. I think it's great. And I mean, New York is doing so much of that too.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for New York. I'm so grateful for Dina and Doris.
Yeah, they're doing amazing, amazing work. And probably the only ones in our network who actually have a written sustainability plan so far. I mean, you have a wonderful strategic plan, Marilyn, and all your other wonderful planning tools.
That's why I'm looking forward to Doris's document.
Yeah. So who else would like to share what they're working on? And you don't have to have a strategic plan or sustainability plan. Remember, they didn't have one at one point. You have to have, like we're saying, your ducks in a row. You have to be ready to jump. So, and that takes a lot of infrastructure, coalition, partnerships. They don't happen overnight, or if they do, they're forced and they're not necessarily productive. So wherever you are, jump in and tell us what you're working on, and what's working well, what's perplexing you. We're here to help and support.
Susan and Dina had mentioned earlier, potential revenue streams, and Jill had mentioned, Build Back Better and some other funds that might be coming down, COVID funds and things like that. So we are trying to better position ourselves to be ready for those funding opportunities or any potential, federal grants or anything like that that might, come down the road sooner rather than later. So we have recently utilized our coalition to submit a formal request to the legislature for an increase in our state appropriation to use a state match to those federal dollars. And so they're in session right now. And so that's, it's been a big help to have a lot of legislators and different agencies on board on our coalition. And they all gave us their blessing to move forward with that request and are helping us with it. So we have done that. And also through our coalition, one of our big partners on the coalition, one of our members, is the Alabama Department of Rehab Services. And they have found some funding that they would like for us to take and use and designate for respite reimbursement. And so we're very excited about that. So we've had DMH, the Department of Health funds, for a long time from the state, and ADRS said, hey, y'all have done this for DMH for 20+ years. We have some extra funds we'd like y'all to take on as well.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of things we're doing, just kind of shore up our position again financially, to be able to take on some extra federal dollars and some extra caregivers. So
Yeah. And you all are so strong in that regard, in having those relationships with legislators and policymakers, and giving back data in forms that they can use to keep those relationships. You keep nurturing those, and they must feel gratifying to those participating. Those are busy people. They wouldn't stay connected. So we might tap on you to do like a little mini presentation about that, how you know, that data collection piece, the giving back, the advocacy. And something else you talked about really intrigued me, about positioning yourself to take advantage of funding streams. And when I was brainstorming for the matrix, I was talking about like looking for funding streams that complement and support the goals in your sustainability plan or strategic plan or whatever. And now that I'm hearing you talk, I'm thinking, well, we have to be even more nimble than that now, because COVID has taught us that, you know, the way we even envision providing respite services has changed a lot over the last 2 years. So that's not even a hard and fast rule. Look only at your strategic plan. That plan itself has to be so, it has to be a working document. You have to be able to go back and say, you know, a year ago, we never even thought about this, but it's really relevant to what we're doing. That sounds like that's what you all are up to, and that's really great. Okay, so you may be on for April. Lining up our little groups here. Oh. Our little lunch and learns. Okay, what others? What are you working on? What would you like help with? Where are you in your, you know, coalition building and planning? And
I'm from Oklahoma, and I work with Nadine and Rondell and Aida. And I work more
welcome.
on the side where I work with the families on their vouchers and issuing the vouchers, processing them. So I don't work as much on the planning side, but I am thankful to be able to listen in and learn. And so I can be able to be more of a help to them on that. This is I think my second meeting.
Yes.
So I've just kind of taken on this role. And so I'm excited to learn more and more from you guys. So thank you for letting me join.
We're so glad you're here. And one of the things that this group has like realized over time is that having shared leadership and having a deep bench is really necessary, so that like if one person's out having a baby, or you know, somebody works with multiple agencies and is taken away, there's still somebody there that's respected, has some autonomy, and can keep things going. So you're just a living demonstration of Oklahoma's strength in that way. So we're thrilled that you're here, and you know, keeping Oklahoma connected with this group and keeping things going at home. And any baby news?
Yes,
From
she has had the baby. I think he's about a month old now, doing great. Very cute as can be.
Yeah, would be, huh? How could that baby not be cute? Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? What's going on in your?
Doris, you want
Alright.
to talk about the funding opportunity that we're working on right now?
Sure, Dina. We always keep our eye out for other funding opportunities, and AmeriCorps recently came out with what do you call it? Requests for applications. And Abby did a whole lot of deep diving into that application, and we discovered that we weren't eligible to apply because Lifespan, who is our who manages, the agency that manages the coalition, already has an active AmeriCorps grant. So Dina kept asking more and more and more questions, and now they've invited us to explore other funding opportunities outside of that one. I actually have that up on my screen, Dina. It is coming your way. So they've asked us to really outline what our vision might be for engaging volunteers over the age of 55 in the state to provide respite. So, you know, we're really looking at it as a very multi-pronged approach with all the things that we do, including the development of the online respite training that we're working on with Wisconsin and Arch. So we're really excited about that. And so they've asked us to just put together a short outline of our vision, and then they're going to take it to senior management and decide if they want to invite us to put in a full proposal. So we're really excited about that. And I was just kind of shocked that it came out, that it kind of rolled into that whole new discussion of more money that they might have, that they might like to give us to be able to reach our dreams. So we're really under the Lifespan Respite Enhancement Grant. We've started a pilot project in one section of the state for a caregiver wellness and respite center. So we're really framing our proposal around building that out around the state using the AmeriCorps dollars.
That's fantastic.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
When you say volunteers over 55, was that specifically the senior companion?
It's not. She said it's structured similarly, but it's a special demonstration project, basically, is what they're going to put it forth as, and see if after they read our summary, they're willing to fund us,
Oh,
or
that
willing
is
to
so
let us,
cool.
I guess, do a full proposal
cool.
to fund us.
Yeah.
But I think she felt that because after hearing a little bit about like all the work we're doing and it's interconnected, and she, I think, felt bad that, we were not eligible because of just the infrastructure and the fact that the coalition's housed at a
Yeah.
organization that's already receiving funding. So we were thrilled when she came back and was like, well, we might be able to do something different. So
That is very exciting. And again, we're at this unique place right now where there's actually surplus money. The feds have surplus money, the states
Right.
have surplus money. And we should all be figuring out a way, like Alabama is, through our advocacy. And you're doing it through this federal funding agency, which is just wonderful. I don't think you normally get to interact with AmeriCorps.
I know,
on that
it's
kind of a
wild.
level. So we're in so many unique opportunities right now around funding.
And I will say something, Susan, that you said, where I think that's what made me think of this funding opportunity is like, right, you keep learning and you're growing, and you might have to make adjustments. And one of the things for us in particular was, the REST model has been wonderful in rolling out across the state and utilizing volunteers to deliver respite. But one of the difficulties that we had with the data is that because we didn't have the resources for NYSERC to oversee that number of volunteers, right? There's a lot that goes into recruiting, training, and retaining volunteers that we, Doris really, structured it in a way that was manageable in having mini grants and getting them up and running. But unfortunately, once that funding ended, there was no hook for them to continue to give us the data.
Right.
So that was like a challenge that I think we really identified, that it's like, we don't really have a clear picture of how many active volunteers there still are because we're not overseeing them. So I think this might give us the ability to almost like look at a restructure, because we can use a good portion of the funds for staffing, and then, have a little more control over, overseeing the volunteer, the whole model and the program, and being able to track that data, which essentially I think will lead to more money. So we're excited.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And all the interconnections that you have and the way that you can see things systemically is really important. The other thing I think about as somebody who used to review grants like crazy is that, one of the things you look at is the capacity of the person applying for the grant. And the more planning that you have done, the more demonstrating that, yes, you have collected data, you've done white papers, you disseminate the data, you have planning documents, you have these long-term commitments. That is so convincing to the funder that I'm making a good investment with this organization. I have a lot of faith that this is not going to be a one-off with this organization. They really have the capacity and commitment to come through with this. And, you know, again, all this takes time, but when you have all those pieces in mind, it's really powerful. We have 3 minutes. Anybody else want to jump in? Abby just jumped off.
I just want to say I'm always jealous of Alabama because if I'm correct, your governor says you people every year or every term or whatever it is says that people from these big state organizations in legislature and advocacy all have to participate. And I just think that would be so nice if the governor said someone from DHHS and someone from Department of Labor and someone, you know, that would be to me just so wonderful. I know there's challenges with the turnover,
Yeah.
but it's hard to get to those higher levels. And so to have them put in your lap and be able to really engage them for advocacy is huge. It's huge. I'm
I
You know,
jealous.
it was Alabama Lifespan that wrote the legislation to establish the coalition that way back in,
Oh,
I don't know, 2000 or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
it's been a
They
long
wrote the
time.
bill. We have a
Yeah.
copy of the bill if anybody else.
Yeah, we do. And I 100% agree, Doris. It's, it makes things, easier for sure. But also it's so great to see. It's like, yeah, they, may have to be there when we meet and things like that, but they're 100% on board. They get it.
right.
And once we give them the information, then they do share it. Like I said, they're thinking about us. Like I said, with ADRS, when opportunities, and they were like, hey, we got a pot of money. Can we share it with you? So yes, it is wonderful to have the governor's support to pull all of these entities together and for the sake of respite.
So Tracy, I have a question though. So federally, there in each state, there's a developmental disability planning council that's required for federal funding, and the governor appoints, people from all the different agencies. A kind of similar model. And when I was associate director of the USAID, that I was the person that was appointed, and it was like notoriously awful.
Oh, really?
Because the people that were on it didn't necessarily have clout, didn't have commitment. So it's not just that. I mean, it's that for sure. That's necessary, but not sufficient. Something you are doing there is making it work. So think about that, because we're going to tap you later on for, in fact, like maybe we've got you. Yeah, I've already put you down for April. If you could share the legislation with us and just think through with us how it plays out in real life and how you keep that going. And I know part of it is the same thing, that you all have been forward thinking and thinking really broadly and systemically. You see the connections. I mean, I know this when I write up all your key accomplishments and state summaries and stuff, and you're another state that really gets it and has been around long enough to keep it going and deepen it. And that, I think, is something we want to be able to impart to the network for states that are really different places. This is where we want you to get to, but don't, you're going to have to get there in steps. What are the steps you take to get there? So, this was a good call. Anybody have any parting words?
It was wonderful to hear so many positive accomplishments
Yeah.
and forward-thinking ideas.
Keep talking to one another. Please make our arch table look good and make the network stronger.
Thank you. It was
Yeah,
great as always.
thank you all so much.
Have a good
Yeah.
weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.